Greetings to us and welcome to another video. So I had people asking me uh like what are the real purpose of playing Bystials. I've already made videos talking about Bystials position in this format and how it can fare up against the meta game if you construct your deck appropriately for it. However, I am doing something a little bit more unorthodox. Instead of playing like the usual bestial count that you would see in like some main decks or some side decks, I am playing a little bit of a heavier bestial package, like around the same ratios that you would see in the old bestial runic variant. And not only that, I am playing a few other spell and traps as well, and I went as far as to even play Bestial Dissipator in the extra deck. Uh, Due to Snake Eye's position in the format, uh, it's a little bit weird or unorthodox for you to see this particular variant being played like in like any deck list at all outside of like the standard bestial runic deck or like other bestial centric strategies. Even branded is not accustomed to be playing this level of degree of bestial monsters. What I'm going to be doing here is explaining how bestials change the overall landscape of how Centurion is played. How does it well position into hand traps, uh, and some few combos and a few like scenarios that it could raise the ceiling of your strategy, as well as explain all the implications the bestial can have in this format, despite it not be super favorable against every matchup. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin. The first thing I want to iterate is like this is not like the most optimal approach you should be taking to your strategy if you want to play Centurions with just like their own engine and just playing a plethora of spell traps, or just play another supplementary engine like for example Super Heavy Samurai or Horus, or like a few other hybrids such as those. That is completely fine. However, I do find a benefit from Bystials that not many people think about. The first benefit I'm going to talk about when it comes to the bestial monsters is, depending on how you get hand trapped, these cards can serve as extenders. The reason the Horus package is good in the Centurion deck is because in the off chance you get halted by hand traps, you can use your Horus cards to just keep bolstering your strategy and just keep playing the game after you get interrupted. Let's say, for example, you summon Centurion Primera, and in the case of the Centurion Primera, let's say we have Bestial Lubellion in our hand as well as the Primera. Uh, and we normal summon the Primera and they get Infinite Impermanence. If you're playing a typical Centurion deck, you have to open either Oath or Stand Up in order to just keep progressing with the game and just like bolster out your plays. If you don't open either of these, then your Primera is just gonna get stuck on the spot, and you are pretty much forced to end the turn that way. After you got Infinite Impermanence, uh, let's say let's say in that scenario you have the Lubellion in your hand. What we will do is we will pitch the Bestial Lubellion. Bestial Lubellion is going to our graveyard, and with Bestial Lubellion we're going to grab Bestial Magnamut. You have two ways to go about this. Option number one is to special summon the Bestial Magnamut, banishing the Lubellion. The Bestial Magnamut gains this effect during the end phase. And then you synchro these two into any synchro 10. It could be Baron, Dissipator, Chaos Angel, Sword Soul Supreme is another good one. And then just go into the end phase, and during the end phase, the Magnamut is going to search us for another Bystial. It could be Baldrake or it could be Druisworm. So that's option number one. If you choose to summon this Baiter can put this Dubellion back to your main deck and just serve as a interruption against your opponent's monster. And in future turns, if you end up getting to Lubellion and you have access to like Branded Regained, for example, you can just bring this back, or and so on and so forth. Chaos Angel being made with Primera and Magnamut makes it unaffected by monster effects, and it also makes it indestructible by battle. And not many decks can actually get rid of this card. Like there are some decks that just outright has to scoop because they have no real outs to like this. This essentially becomes a towers. And not only that, but this gives the towers effect to all your other synchro monsters. So eventually you're just going to win the war of attrition if they don't have real outs to it, which not every strategy in the game does. So that's scenario number one. Scenario number two would be Lubellion is banished. You have the Magnamut on board. You have the Primera, or you have the Magnamut in your hand. Primera is still on board, and you have Lubellion in your graveyard. Let's go back to this step. So we have our Magnamut. What we're going to do is we're going to link away the Centurion Primera, and this is where the Artemis comes in. If you remember all my deck list of Centurion, I've always had Artemis as in my deck profile. Now you're seeing one of the reasons why Artemis is being played. So that being said, you're going to banish the Centurion Primera. After you banish Centurion Primera, you're going to summon Bystial Magnamut. Bystial Magnamut is going to gain the effect to add a dragon monster during the end phase. You're going to tribute the Magnamut for Lubellion. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to activate Lubellion's effect. And with Lubellion, we're going to place either Branded Regained or Etude of the Branded. It really depends on the rest of your hand and how it all plays out. That being said, the most ideal one would be Branded Regained. So after you do that, you're going to link away Lubellion and Artemis into SP Little Knight. Afterwards, you're going to use SP Little Knight's effect. SP Little Knight is going to banish the Artemis in our graveyard. And what's going to happen now is that the Artemis is going to go back to your extra deck because of Branded Regained, and you gain one draw. During the end phase, the Magnamut is going to resolve, and Magnamut is going to search for either Druisworm or Baldrake. Ideally, you'll grab Baldrake in this position because Baldrake does serve as a potential interruption. Also remember that if your opponent ever summons a monster, the Branded Regain can trigger. Branded Regain is going to bring back the Magnamut, and the Magnamut gains the end phase effect. If you end up banishing for Bystial Baldrake, for example, like banishing Lubellion, then your Branded Regain will trigger. Branded Regain will put the Lubellion back into your main deck, and then you draw another card. And that's all. Everything that you just saw right here happened with just Lubellion plus Primera. And not only that, it happened with Lubellion plus Primera specifically against Infinite Impermanence. Now let's go back to Primera plus Lubellion again. And instead of getting Infinite Impermanence, you got you being FF Veilered. FF Veiler is another really common hand trap that's been played this format. Specifically as a catalyst against the Snake Eye Ash when you're facing the Snake Eye variant. So if you get FF Veilered, the ceiling exponentially increases. And I'll explain how. So you'll do Lobelian again, and then Lobelian is going to grab the Magnamut, same as last time. Magnamut is going to banish your opponent's effect Veiler in order for its summon. So if a Veiler gets banished, Magnamut is on board. Now you have Magnamut's end phase effect, but more importantly, you kept your Primera. And not only that, but you also kept your Lobelion. Meaning that you can just tribute over the Magnamut, summon Lobelion, use Lobelion's effect, and let's say you don't have access to stand-up Centurion. It's now Lobelion plays a second purpose because you can place a Toot of the Branded into your spell and trap zone. And the Toot of the Branded enables us to synchro summon on our opponent's turn as long as we control a dragon monster as a material. And now what we can do is synchro with these two into Legatia. And Legatia is going to net us one draw. Not only that, but Legatia is going to end phase, place your Primera, and Magnamut is going to end phase search. So you will search back, you can search Baldrake or you can search your Druid's Worm. So what happened here? With Primera plus Lobelion, you got access to your Centurion line. You have access to synchro summon your opponent's turn. You had a +1 because of the Magnamut. And not only that, but Primera is going to add you another card during the next turn. So you'll probably add something like Bonds as follow-up or stand-up for like the next turn. And not only that, but you can also banish for Baldrake. This has a floodgate effect as long as you control a Bystial. So take note of that. That is super important. And not only that, you can synchro these two into Bystial Dispatcher or Chaos Angel. And that's a really big deal because your opponent has a card banished, the Effect Veiler. Dissipator becomes a monster negate, and then the Druid's Worm also becomes an interruption. Adding to that, you also have the Chaos Angel that can banish, and not only that, but Chaos Angel gains the light and dark immunity effect, meaning that whatever synchros you have alongside it, like for example the Legatia, they're all unaffected by monster effects, and they're all indestructible by battle. So now you're starting to see and understand like how the Bystials play a very important role, like in the Centurion archetype. Not only that, but Bystials also do something else for us besides everything that you just saw. Like, if you get Ash Blossomed on Primera, it's the exact same thing. Now that you saw like the Bystials interactions, like against like hand traps and work as a potential extenders, let us showcase you a combo that just gets significantly better if you have Bystials in your deck. Let's say, for example, we've opened Oath plus Vision plus Lobelion. And yes, this is a 3-card combo. However, you do max out on copies of all of these cards. So it's not like the most unorthodox thing that you see in the world. Now I'm going to teach you a combo that I really like. And the combo I'm going to teach you is the combo that convinced me to play Vision Resonator in the first place. This could be either Oath or it could be Stand-Up Centurion. So what we're going to do here is, let's say for example we activated Oath. Oath is going to set the stand-up. We're going to use stand-up effect, and stand-up is going to pitch the Vision Resonator, and it's going to place Trudea into our spell and trap zone. The Lobelion is still in our hand. Now the Vision Resonator triggers, and Vision Resonator is going to add us Crimson Gaia. Let's say, for example, we get hit with Droll and Lockbird. This is another hand trap that we haven't talked about yet. So let's go in the scenario that we got drolled. We already know that droll is not really that good against Centurion in the first place, but in an awkward position where we're using the vision resonator and we do get drolled, there is something really cool that we can do here. So the play that we're going to do is we're going to use Crimson Gaia to grab the vision resonator, and vision resonator goes back to our hand. We're going to use Trudea's effect, and Trudea is going to spawn itself into the monster zone, and it's now level 8. It gained 4 levels. Since we control a dark monster that is more than level 5, we can special summon Vision Resonator. Now what we're going to do is we're going to push Trudea to the spawn trap zone, and Trudea is going to recruit for specifically MS6. Now what we're going to do is we're going to special summon the MS6, and MS6 plus Vision Resonator is 8 plus 2, which equals 10. And the monster we're going to summon here is Baron the Floor. Or we can summon Sword Soul. And what potentially happens here is you have your boss monster, you have Trudea for next turn, and if they don't get rid of this Crimson Gaia is going to grab us another card the next following turn, and we still have Lubellion to add later on. So that's like one scenario that we have here. Let's say we did not get hit with Droll and Lockbird. This is where things are going to get a lot more crazier, because now what we're going to be doing is the Trudea is still on our spell and trap, we still have Lubellion in our hand, and we added the Crimson Gaia. Now what we can do is with the Crimson Gaia, we're going to add a second Vision Resonator. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pitch Lubellion, and Lubellion is going to add us more Magnamort. Since we have Vision Resonator in our graveyard, we can use that as fodder for the Magnamort. So basically we banish the Vision Resonator, Magnamort gets special summoned, Magnamort triggers to add. And since we control a level 6 Dark, we can special summon the Vision Resonator. And now what we can do is tribute the Magnamort to place Lubellion. Lubellion can place Branded Regained, or any Branded Spell and Trap rather. But for the explanation of this combo, we're going to place Branded Regained. And now what we can do here is we're going to Synchro 10. And our Synchro that we're going to be summoning is Bystial Dissipator. So Bystial Dissipator can activate its effect, and it can reborn the Vision Resonator that is in our banished. And something really cool that we can do here is we can synchro these two. And that summons us Centurion Legatia. And now what we can do is we're going to use Legatia's effect, and we draw one card. And if we summarize this combo, there are a few things to note here. The first thing to note is if we get Nibiru'd, the Branded Regain can trigger, and the Branded Regain is going to bring back the Dissipator. We still have not done Trudea's effect, so we can special Trudea, we can push Trudea back, and Trudea will summon us, or will place Primera. And during the end phase, the Magnamort is going to resolve, and the Magnamort can add us pretty much Bull Drake or Durisworm. The other option that we have here is we can special summon the Primera before going to the end phase. Primera will trigger, and you can just grab anything with Primera. In this case, since we already have Legatia on board, we can just grab Stand-Up Centurion, Phalanx. and we can just set the phalanx, go to end phase, add any of these two. And what do we have here? We have the typical Centurion lineup. The only difference here is we don't have MS6 on rotation. But instead of having MS6, we have either Boldrake or Druid's Worm to use as a catalyst for interrupting with our opponent. We can special Trudea, and you can, for example, one example I can give you is you can special summon Boldrake. By special summoning Boldrake, the regain triggers. The regained will draw us an extra card. If your opponent summons a monster, we can special summon the Disbatter. You can synchro either these two or these two. If you synchro using the Trudea, you can make Chaos Angel, which is something that not a lot of people think about. You also have Changing as interruption, and Changing plus Phalanx is like double interruption, pretty much. This pretty much just like nukes an entire board by itself. You also have the Baron to negate. You also have Druid's Worm to send if you use it for Baron. Like, if you are noticing, like, what I'm showing you here is basically how Bystials like elevate the ceiling of this deck very, very exponentially. And that's not even counting how good Bystials are as a natural enemy against like Voiceless Voice or like Branded or like other decks that are of a similar fashion. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I covered the Bystial explanation very thoroughly. I hope you found this informative or this to your understanding. Like, post Legacy of Destruction, the Bystials are going to be even stronger in this deck because there's going to be even more synergy with the Centurions. But as of right now, this is the best that we have for this archetype, or at least this this implication that you can make. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you found this informative and to like your understanding. I hope this clears up any like frequently asked questions that involved like why Bystials are in my deck and not like a plethora of other non-engine. I feel like Centurion is a deck that you kind of need extenders in order for the deck to perform well because we're in a multiple hand trap format. And just having an engine that can serve both as hand traps but as well as extenders, and that can push through your entire boards and give you access to really powerful synchros. Because, for example, as I mentioned beforehand, not many people can beat Chaos Angel. I just felt that this is very warranted. But yeah, until the next video, keep practicing and keep dueling.